I was at work one day, and my daughter called me and said, Patrick is using heroin. My world just stopped. And my first response was, no, he's not. It was complete denial. But I knew. As soon as she said it, I knew that was true. So we went to this rehab. It was in New York for 2 weeks. We went to the family day. He seemed so much better.
Of course, we were very naive. We thought once you went to rehab, you were cured immediately.
Yeah. It was a good 5 years that between finding out that he was addicted to heroin and other drugs. Got a job at Blockbuster, and he was working. He relapsed, and he slipped back into old habits. We started again the process of looking for a bed, and I called around, and there were, by this time it was Christmas time, and we had to wait till after the holidays. They said to call back. And Christmas Day was a good day. My whole family was there. He went to work at Blockbuster after dinner. That night he came home, and he went to bed that night, and he overdosed that night, and I found him in the morning. So that was pretty awful. It's his birthday, May 11th. He was born on Mother's Day, and he died on Christmas.
I would have to say addiction has shaped my entire life. I am an adult child of an alcoholic. I married a wonderful guy who ended up developing this disease in his adulthood, and I did as well. I was drinking almost round the clock instead of worrying about if I had enough water, if a hurricane came. It was, do I have enough vodka to get me through if I can't get to the liquor store? I was depressed. I was disconnected from self. My children were beside themselves with me. My marriage was falling apart. My fourth child, Gregory, was diagnosed with something called myelitis, which is an inflammation of the spinal cord. And he was treated with IV painkillers and steroids for a week. And within a year and a half, he was on his knees. I had no sense of what was really going on with him. And so we did the things that all good parents do. You know, we got him into the best treatment. We got him detoxed. But that wasn't enough. And 3 years ago, I found him dead of an opiate overdose.
There was no question that Bill Mitchell was lost. Lost. I was lost in a bottle of scotch, gin, wine, beer. I was lost, and I had no hope. And then I got the gift of sobriety. I got the gift of recovery. And the greatest gift I have found, and it's the biggest paradox in my life, that the more I give, the more I get back. It sounds corny these days, but it's true. I do a lot of work in recovery with particularly younger people. Then I hand them off. You know, the more hands I take, the more I get back. They don't owe me anything, but what they do owe me is they got to pay it forward someday. I mean, recovery. As I said, it's the best gift I've ever gotten. But that's how I started in liberation, and I've been part of it ever since.
It's all about the restoration of the human spirit. That's what Liberation Programs was founded on 50 years ago. That this wasn't one person's problem. It's not a black problem or a white problem or a rich person's problem or a poor person's problem. It's a human problem. And we need to treat people like they're human beings. I don't think we really should have a single death due to opioid overdose in the state of Connecticut. I actually think it's an abomination.
Even though we're building a new facility in Bridgeport, the problem is not in Bridgeport. You know, it's in Stamford, it's in Westport, certainly the problem's in Norwalk. It's really all over. It's endemic with every family in the area, and you can see that just by talking to friends and family, and unfortunately, you know, reading the obituaries. The more help that we can put into the community through this new facility, the better everybody's going to be. Liberation has a great reputation in Bridgeport, perfectly situated up by the hospital.
I think this is going to be a tremendous asset, not only for Bridgeport, but also for the surrounding communities. Treatment and recovery programs are woefully limited in the state of Connecticut, and of course, with our state budget crisis, we don't have the fiscal resources to really supplement. So we count so heavily on organizations like Liberation Programs, who quite frankly do a much better job than government ever could to provide those services.
Everything in the environment either fosters healing or it compounds hurt and disappointment. The physical layout took us actually 2 years to assemble all the right pieces, how it should look and how it should flow. In our center, there's no staff cafeteria and client cafe. There's just one cafe for people to come and have a bite to eat and talk about their lives and what they can do to move forward.
Addiction doesn't just affect the person in recovery, it affects the families.
A lot of families don't know how to initiate that first call. But I think one of the things that Liberation probably does best is make themselves visible in the community so that at any given moment or at time, that individual will be comfortable to reach out to Liberation Programs and start that process.
And this impacts family and it impacts community. And we have to be a resource to our communities. We have to provide services. We have to be a voice in this because this does save lives, and that's the bottom line.
The hope is that we can one by one, like myself, find recovery, pass it along, and let people lead productive and happy lives.
You're never really beyond repair. There's always hope for you and your family. At Liberation Programs, we say that the installation of hope is the cornerstone of all human healing.
You know, I got a smile on my face when I think about hope. You know, I had no hope. Now, with Liberation and the spirit of this dinner tonight, of the gala tonight, I want everybody to know that there are a lot of Bill Mitchells sitting out here in the audience and in Fairfield County where you can help Liberation make a difference. Make a difference.
What does the spirit of hope mean to me? It's embodied in Virginia Bantle and Lou Bantle, people who had a right to say, I've done enough, but they kept giving. They took a chance on Liberation Program, and they not only financially supported it, but they put their good name behind it. They're an example of what we can do when we get outside of our comfort zone.
That's what Liberation is. It's taking folks that maybe don't have the means to face this addiction and giving them hope and putting them in treatment.
No matter what that challenge is in your life, especially if it's the challenge of addiction. So hope really underlies any efforts to recover and move forward in your life. And I'm so proud of the work of Liberation Programs and the spirit of hope that they bring to all of their clients and families.
But there's always hope. The human spirit is amazing. Don't ever give up.
The spirit of hope is going to help other families get through this, which will help them immensely.
Where there's life, there's hope.